My favorite way of programming drums inside Logic is definitely using Drum Machine Designer. This particular song called Ascension that I released a few months back has a few instances of Drum Machine Designer, and it's a good example to show what the workflow is like. Sometimes one of the good things with Drum Machine Designer is you get to really customize your sounds and set them up in a pretty quick and efficient way, and also get to save them for future projects that you can bring back your favorite drum sounds. This particular song is somewhere between melodic house and melodic techno, so I did a lot of drum programming on here. A few options are, first of all, the great thing about Drum Machine Designer, once you bring it up, is that you can drag any drum sound or whatever you want onto it and be able to customize them and program them fairly easily. So this particular one I've done, this is you can hear some of the sounds that I've got on here. So being able to drag one in here and then being able to just go and pick whatever icon you want for this and then to be able to audition them is a good way to do it. So in this particular song, I've got this one set up where it's got all my sounds that I want to use, electronic drum sounds minus the kick. I put that on a separate track and I'll show you why I did that. So here I've dragged a bunch of my favorite sounds, a few different snare options, different hi-hats or different things. And then to be able to assign them to any external controller is fairly easy. So I could use Logic's remote app, which is great. And you can also mess with the gain and do other stuff in here as well. If you want something with actual physical buttons, pads, which is easier for me, once I've already dragged everything in here, you see a 4x4 16 grid system just like this one. So if I want to design them so that I can actually audition them physically, in this case, I'm using Nectar's Aruba. You can use any controller. I love this one because it's integrated really nicely within Logic and has a bunch of other functions that you can use. I mostly use it from Drum Machine Designer. So if I want to match this up, I basically go to Input here, say Learn Note, go to my first one. Same thing, and so on and so forth. So if I wanted to play them later and audition them physically, it's fairly easy to assign them. The other nice thing with this is that if you have more than one instance of it, so in this case, I've got a separate channel that I'm running the kick for. And the reason for this is so that I can actually audition different kicks that may or may not work well for this song. And to be able to switch them is fairly easy to do. So here again, I've got them. As you can see, they're not matching, but I can, again, fix that fairly easily. Looks like this one, a couple of these are off. There we go. This one didn't get assigned properly. So I've got a bunch of different kicks here, and I run these oftentimes through a separate channel. A, so I can audition them, but B, if I'm using any kind of sidechain, I have a separate kick track. And then the third Drum Machine Designer that I've created here is for some taiko drums, and to be able to do some fills on here. So again, this one's assigned. I think this one should be. So these are samples that I've got on here as well, and these are just for some big fills that I have on this song as well. So the advantage, again, to all this is that once they're running separate on different groups here, I can add different effects to them and to be able to use different sidechain for kick and other drums. And so here, oftentimes, instead of using the MIDI, I'll use the pattern region on here to be able to just, like, this is a straight 4/4 kick. Here, I've got some hi-hats. And the nice thing with working on the patterns region is that you can change any effects. So you can come here and you can tell it, okay, I want to change the octave. I want to make the notes longer or shorter, to add repeats to the song and everything. Plus, the other nice thing is that here, if you're using the companion iPad app, you can actually do your step sequencing here, which is also nice, and be able to control the velocity, which I oftentimes do. So this is just to show you an example. This is just a kick on this part. Let's see what it sounds like. So this is the kick that I selected. So in this one, this is the kick. The first thing I always do is I gain stage it. So I've dropped this by 14 dB, which should be across all my channels. And then I'm adding a shaper box just to kill the tail end of it just a little bit to make the kick a little bit tighter. And then last but not least, adding a compressor to it to give it a beefier sound for this particular track. And then to hear what the taiko drums sound like as a fill, the taiko drums by themselves. So it's got a long tail again. I've got a gain staging it here. I've got just a basic EQ to kill the ultra low end so that it doesn't interfere with the kick drum. Again, another compressor. Last but not least, using Smooth Operator to bring down some of the transients on a hand, tame them. And so together, this is where a lot of the programming happens. So just to hear what it all sounds like together. Bringing it with the rest of the drums, just a hi-hat here. Darbuka sample. Another hi-hat sample, and then just adding a serum bass to it, a very simple sidechain bass. And then with everything, this is what the drums sound like. Drum Machine Designer is a really powerful tool inside Logic that really allows you to customize your drum sounds, be able to audition sounds, be able to use physical pads to be able to do it, virtual pads on the iPad to be able to do that as well, and also be able to change the tuning and do a lot more with it, and also individualize the channels so that if you're adding effects just to, let's just say the hi-hat, you're adding reverb or doing things, you can do that as well. And then the other nice thing with it is also that you can do chokes so that when you have a hi-hat and you want it to do what a real drummer would do, which is to be able to stop the hi-hat when it's something else hitting, you can actually go in here and give it a group so that those two are working in conjunction with each other. I use it quite a bit. In fact, it's my primary use, and one of the great things with it for drums is that I'm able to save my favorite drum sets, my favorite kick sets, and do all that stuff and be able to come back to it. And then if you have other sounds outside yourself, whether it's splice or whatever, it's simply drag and drop onto there so that you can really utilize Drum Machine Designer and customize it. And it's got plenty of space to be able to do way more than 16 sounds, but I think the first page is usually plenty. And it's a really nice way to be able to program sounds and to be able to add effects to it within the Logic ecosystem. Hope you enjoyed this one. Once again, this track is called Ascension, and it's on my EP, Fall Into Rise Again. I'll link that below in case you want to listen to it. Thanks for watching.